Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the
Welcome to the Top Travel Destinations. I'm your host, Kevin Flanagan, here to use my 20 years of experience as a top travel writer with the Sunday Independent to show you where to stay, eat, shop and explore when you visit the world's top travel destinations. So sit back and enjoy our journey together. Welcome to a very special podcast. Every podcast with Aileen Eglington, my dear friend and colleague, is special because no one, and I mean no one, knows the Alps like this lady. She's been taking tours. She's organized international expeditions. She's organized huge media events there. And she also taught me how to carve. For those who don't ski, carving means you go on the side of your skis and you can really go. And I'll never forget when we were in that very high resort in France.
We were in Val Thorens.
Val Thorens, and you showed me it was like bicycling. And I've never forgotten that lesson. So this is a dear friend, but she knows so much. So she's going to recommend 3 Austrian resorts. Austria is a place so dear to my heart. I take my grandkids there every year. And there's something very special about Austrians. But I'm going to hand over now to our expert, Aileen, to take us away and to pick why she would ski in Austria in the first place.
Oh, well, I have a soft spot for Austria. I have a soft spot for Northern Italy as well and the Dolomites, and I'm going there next week. But I think that even though Austria doesn't have the biggest ski resorts in the world, that accolade goes to France. I think for people who don't ski all the time, and I think we have to remember that most people who go skiing, they go for 1 week a year, maybe 2 weeks a year. And so it's important that we think about it as a holiday as well as a sport. And I think that's very important. There's lots of other places. As I said, France would be the biggest ski area in terms of all its combined areas in the world. The only ones that surpass that are Whistler in Canada, which is amazing as well. But there's a number of factors that make me recommend Austria. I know the airports have very good services into the resorts, and most of the Austrian resorts are in valleys. So you get a lift up to ski, whereas some places that you go to, you have to climb quite high. So Livigno is wonderful, but it takes you 4.5 hours to get there. Andorra is wonderful, but it takes you 4 hours to get there. The beauty about Austria is that so much is accessible from its airports so quickly, so that you can fly to Salzburg in the wintertime and get to a resort within 45 minutes to Flachau, or an hour to the Gastein Valley, or an hour and a half to Zell. You can fly to Munich and you can get to various resorts within an hour and a half, 2 hours maximum, or also to Innsbruck. And I think that is the beauty, that you have that triangulation of airports that make access into the Austrian resorts unique.
Now, we're going to look at your first choice as to where to go for your ski week.
Okay, so my first choice is a place I've got to know very well over the years, which is the Ski Welt area. And particularly, we've got Soll and Westendorf and Scheffau and Ellmau, as well as Going. They're the main ski areas within that area, and they're all interconnected. And I think it's a really interesting ski area. It's a place that Irish people love. So we've got, as I said, Soll and Westendorf would be the best one known to a lot of people. And it's a great value for money. And what I also like is that they have an amazing team in the Ski Welt who manage the lifts and who manage the snow. And it's now become recognised as one of the most sustainable resorts in the world. And I think that's really important when we make decisions. And I think the Austrians, it's really important. They're very strict about making snow that can't be full of additives, because that's going to be the pasture land in the summer for the farmers. So there's a real meeting of minds between the people who manage the ski resorts and when it goes back to nature in the summertime. And that's why I like Austria. It's a really important factor when you're choosing where you go on your ski holiday. And that's why I like the Ski Welt.
Okay, that's really extraordinary. And I can just remember one memory, again with Aileen, because over the years as a travel writer, I've been lucky enough to be a guest of Aileen, and we went with Top Flight. I can remember we went to Soll. I can remember going in a horse-drawn carriage with bells. It was -20.
Yeah.
Wrapped up in blankets.
But a little drop of schnapps keeps you warm.
Yeah, we went up to the top of the toboggan run.
Yes, that's right.
And it was so cold, even the fire outside, if you were stood on it, you had to get into the fire. And then we tobogganed down, and our friend Jeff disappeared into the snow. He had a crash, and he came
looked like
out,
a snowman.
And he came out like the abominable snowman.
All 2 meters of him.
It was just an incredible memory. And Westendorf is near to my heart because I've been going there with the grandkids, and it's so family friendly.
And great hotels. Yeah.
Tell me more, in the Soll Westendorf region, what can the skier expect?
What a skier can expect in the Ski Welt is that the whole area is totally interconnected. So it's very clear in terms of your piste map when you get it. I think it's 278 kilometres of piste. And that is really, really important because that allows you, if you're a good skier, to really test your ski legs during the week. And in fact, they have a new challenge there as well, which is a 1-day challenge, which is 88 kilometres.
Wow.
And that's a big challenge because I've done the Sella in Italy, and that's 50 kilometres. So a real good challenge for anybody who's a good skier, 88 kilometres. But if you're not a good skier, that's okay, because the great thing about both Soll and Westendorf is they have lovely, easy beginner slopes. And I think that's really important. And then on top of that, one of the things that I really like about Austria in particular is they have superb mountain restaurants. So there's places that I've been to where you get up to the top of the mountain and you barely get a baguette with cheese and ham in it. And I think the quality of their mountain food, there's a lot of gourmet restaurants on the mountain as well as in the towns. I think that's a big thing, and reasonable cost.
Yes. And the other thing that I've learned, because I took up skiing when I was 50 and I'm a lot older than that now, and I still always go into ski school. And when I first took the grandkids, they went into ski school. And this year, as we know from our last interview, the grandkids who are 9 and 6 left me for dead and just skied off-piste. And I was left literally on my backside looking up at the sky while they laughed and said, "Where the heck are you?" What do you feel about the whole teaching regime and to encourage people? Because some people, believe it or not, still go on these trips without going into ski school.
Oh, I think sometimes it's the word ski school, because do people think I know it all? And you forget that it is a sport. It can be a dangerous sport if you don't do it right and if you don't adhere to the rules. And I think the other side of it is that you can either choose to take a one-to-one lesson, or you can choose to go in a class. And if you haven't been skiing before, it's such fun. And the other thing, especially if you are a skier and you think you know it all, well, you actually don't. Ski instructors go up early every morning. They ski the mountain before we're even having our breakfast. And these are men and women with superb innate knowledge of both the mountains they ski on and the dangers and the good places as well. And they know where the best restaurants are. They know where the best runs are. They know the capability of the class. I do feel when you only ski once or twice a year, you get a plateau of mediocrity, if you like. So I think it's important that you go to ski school, and if you have the money, or maybe you're in a group and everybody else is brilliant and you're not so good, treat yourself to a ski lesson by yourself. There's nothing better than having your own ski instructor. And I'd be very sexist, but if it's a man, he might even carry your skis for you.
and
Your very own Sherpa.
Absolutely. And the very first week I went skiing, they said, I was in a group, and they said, by the end of this week, you will ski from the mountain.
I remember.
A mountain in front. Yeah. And by golly gosh, I did it.
Yeah.
I fell. But being with the others was so encouraging.
Absolutely.
And it takes you back to your youth.
Yeah.
You know, it's unbelievable.
It's about trust, because you're learning a new sport. You're learning a sport that you could fall in or whatever. So I think it's wonderful to have somebody with you who knows where they're going and what they're doing, and that can look after you.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. So for me, it doesn't matter what level you are. Even if you're a brilliant skier, it's fantastic to have a ski guide that gives you the most out of your holiday.
Yeah. And have your ski insurance.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody that skis or goes on any holiday without insurance is nuts.
Yes.
Now, I think we're very lucky that obviously today we're talking about Austria, and Austria is in the EU. And if you're listening and you're in the EU, you have your EU health insurance as well. But I think it's really important to have overall travel insurance that covers you for ski, definitely.
Yeah, because accidents can happen,
Yeah.
crashes, freaks of nature, and it's vital that you're covered.
And it's probably the people who wouldn't go into ski school or wouldn't take a ski instructor, who think they know it all, who are out of control, because skiing is about learning how to be in control and then have fun.
Yes. Where would you stay in this area, hotel-wise?
There's a few nice hotels in Soll. I particularly like the Hotel Tyrol because it's got a great pool area. And I love the idea of either getting up early in the morning before skiing or coming back and having a swim. I know you do too. There's lots of other nice hotels in Soll. There's a lovely one that has been extended now, and it's called the Hinterhag. And it's lovely. Also, you've got lots of other hotels in town. There's a myriad of hotels. There's a great place if you wanted something really cool. It's called the Old Schoolhouse in the middle of Soll. And I think we had dinner there one night. But the owner of the Old Schoolhouse has renovated these apartments, and they're all rock apartments. So one of them is a Dave Bowie one of them is Queen, one of them is the Rolling Stones. So you can actually stay in a rock star themed apartment. Now, I think they're so cool.
Right.
Really good. A very good friend of mine, Lenny, has an apartment house in Soll called the Bergview Apartments. But there's loads of hotels in Soll, but they're family-run apartments.
Yes, and Westendorf
and family-run
as well.
hotels. And Westendorf has superb hotels.
Absolutely. But I can remember one of the times with Aileen, she took us to, it may have been Bad Hofgastein. There was this incredible hotel or spa. And what you do is you actually go outside. So can you imagine, it's minus 15 degrees.
Yeah.
It's snowing.
Yeah.
You are butt naked in some of the areas because, an interesting aside, in the Austrian adult spas, you have to be naked.
Yes, but there is a change because I think there's quite a lot of countries who are saying they're not so comfortable with this. This is the Germanic way and the Scandinavian way.
Yes.
You'll be ordered out of a sauna with your swimsuit on.
Yes, and we were actually sprayed. When I went with a group of journalists, they were all Irish and they were a bit shy. And I said, well, we'll go on in. We went into the sauna and every one of the Austrian locals got up, left, and one of them took the cold water tap and sprayed us all. And we soon took our clothes off. And after 30 seconds, you forget you're naked. It's quite extraordinary. But the other memory is going outside into minus 15 degrees with the snow coming down and getting into the warm pool.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
It's unbelievable.
Absolutely fabulous.
So whereabouts would you also eat and drink?
Oh, look, there's so many restaurants in Soll and Westendorf on and off the mountain. They have 80 mountain huts, and one of them is better than the other, in my view. And as I said, the prices are reasonable compared to other countries. The Old Schoolhouse is actually very good. And the Whiskey Moolah, they have the restaurant. It's a big après ski bar, but they have a restaurant as well. And it's very, very good. You're talking kind of €14 for a pizza. It's not rip-off.
No. And tell the people who haven't been skiing, listening to this podcast, what is après ski Austrian style for you?
I think it's just having fun, getting to see your friends again when you come off the mountain. In some resorts, it's more raucous than others. So it depends. Some resorts that you go to, it'll be quieter. So we're going to talk about Zell and Saalbach in a while, and they're quite raucous. Whereas you go to Bad Hofgastein, and it's quieter. But I think après ski is about just getting together at the end of the day and just having a beer to celebrate.
There's people who haven't skied may not know it, but you have this incredible high of being right up there.
Yeah.
There's 20% less oxygen. You've spent 4 or 5 hours of this exhilaration and near danger and fast speeds. And there's nothing quite like it. And when you come off the mountain, whether you're with kids or whether you're with adults, you want to get together, have a hot chocolate. It doesn't have to be a beer fest.
Absolutely not.
And just talk about, I missed this guy here and I went over this slope here.
And I think that's what après ski is about. It can be raucous, it can be mad. It's as mad as you choose to be.
Yes.
And that's why it's important that you pick your resort well.
Absolutely.
If you're a total beginner, you don't necessarily go to the highest, most expensive resort in the world, because you don't need it. You probably won't ski everything in it in a week. So you pick your resort well, and that's why it's important to maybe talk to tour operators and travel agents and people who actually know what they're talking about.
Yes.
You can't do it all by Google.
No, and that's
You know,
where
you
a
have to
tour
learn.
operator, the likes
Yeah.
of Top Flight, who's an Irish-owned company,
Absolutely.
or wherever it is your local provider, can be absolutely...
Yeah, because you've got TUI Crystal, you've got Mountain People, you've got lots of different people, Travel Solutions. There's lots of people like that you can talk to about where you want to go skiing. I was reading an article yesterday, and there's countries where it's very cheap to ski if you're starting. There's places like Bulgaria and Andorra, and in general for me, Austria offers the best all-round value. A large beer is about $5.50 in Austria, which is a lot cheaper than here. And drink the local wine, drink the local beer. I think that's important as well. Drink the local drinks.
Yes.
Because the more you eat the local food and drink, that's where you get your value.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your values.
Yes.
So,
where is your second destination?
my second destination it's two resorts that are now linked. They're not fully linked yet, but they're linked quite closely. And Salzburgerland in Austria, and it's Zell, See-Kaprun and Saalbach. And Saalbach is now called the ski circus, and it's Saalbach, Hinterland, Leogang. So you've quite a lot of choice. These resorts are both about an hour and a half from Salzburg Airport and 2.5 hours from Munich Airport. They're just very good ski areas. Zell is fabulous. Zell itself is by the lake, Lake Zell. And Lake Zell is known as the most sustainable lake in Europe in terms of water purification. And again, Zell pride themselves on sustainability. They've built new lifts in Kaprun. They've done a lot of work. They have a glacier resort as part of Zell Kaprun. So even if you go early season or late season, this place is already open. If you're listening to this podcast now before Christmas, you can go to Zell Kaprun, and there's a wonderful glacier resort called the Kitzsteinhorn. It's actually the Kitzsteinhorn Glacier. You can get up there by bus. It's part of your lift pass, and it's easy to get up there by bus. Takes a while, but when you get up there, you're over 3,000 metres, and you're looking down, and on a clear day, you can see Lake Zell. And people think glaciers, maybe a bit steep. It's not. There's some lovely blue and red runs up there. Blue runs being the easiest for those of you that haven't started skiing yet. It's a beautiful, stunning resort. The centre of Zell is pedestrianised. Lots of après-ski bars, lots of lovely restaurants. It's just a nice place to go.
Yes. What would you do as regards shopping there? And is there anything unique that shoppers can enjoy?
There's a lot of shops selling beautiful hand-carved wood. So you can get maybe a nice cheese board or some lovely clothes shops in Zell. One of my favourite clothes shops is there. My little tip is they have lovely rum, and I buy this rum called Inlander. You can get a half litre of Inlander for about €6, and it's wonderful for your brack and your Christmas cake.
Wow.
Or to drink in your hot chocolate.
Excellent. Anywhere particular you would recommend staying?
In terms of some of the best hotels, the Salzburgerland Hotel, Salzburgerhof is fantastic. So is the Grand Hotel. The Grand Hotel actually juts out onto the lake.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. Has a casino there as well. There's a little hotel I like in the centre of town called the Liebzelter, which I think is very good. There's lots of little hotels in town all around.
And for eating?
There's quite a lot of restaurants around. There's one called the Crazy Daisy. And for those that kind of like American type food, the Crazy Daisy, they have great burgers, and it's down near the Grand Hotel. It's actually down looking over the lake, and it's a great place for après-ski as well. In terms of Saalbach, there's a whole pedestrian area, and all the hotels are built around this pedestrian area. Great après-ski in Saalbach. And when you come down off the mountain, lovely beginners area, and you can ski an awful lot. Saalbach is big, and it's a really nice skiing area. Bit more expensive than Zell, more expensive than the Ski Welt, but worth it. It's totally pedestrianised.
Okay.
So Saalbach is lovely.
And now we go on to your final destination.
My final destination is a place called the Gastein Valley. And the reason I'm talking about the Gastein Valley is because I've been very lucky in my life that I've travelled all over the world and I've got to see real spas. I don't have a lot of time for these destination spas. I love to see these wonderful spas that actually give life and give cures and give treatments to people and make you feel good. The Gastein Valley is one of those places. It's only an hour from Salzburg Airport, which I think is fantastic. It's nearly 3 hours from Munich Airport, but it's only an hour from Salzburg Airport. The reason it's so special is because when you started reading years ago about people who went to take the waters, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, you started reading about that. And this is one of the places they went to. This place used to be one of the epicenters of gold and silver mining. There's wonderful waters that come out of the earth and they're life-giving because they're full of minerals. So there's 2 amazing public spas there. One of them is the Alpine Spa in Bad Hofgastein. And then in Bad Gastein, up the mountain, you've got the Felsen Therme Spa. And they're both amazing. But also, many of the hotels have the spa water pumped into their hotels. Not only that, but because of all the treatments they give for anything to do with the musculoskeletal system or to do with asthma or to do with anything like that, you can actually get treatments through your private healthcare. So anybody who's from Germany or Austria or Hungary or I think Czech Republic as well, you can actually avail of treatments in this area through your private healthcare. I think it's wonderful to be in that Alpine Therme Spa and, as you said, to be outside. You feel fantastic. So not only do you get these wonderful mountains and you get everything about skiing, but you can come along and feel fantastic afterwards.
Yes. It's particularly useful after a hard day on the mountain
I
skiing
think so.
for 5 hours. It
Yeah.
really, because you can get stiff. The problem is it's so difficult to acclimatise yourself to skiing, even if
Yeah.
you're fit. Because
Yeah.
it's a very particular sort.
Yeah.
So you can really seize up and get
Yeah.
onset muscular stiffness.
Yeah.
We actually stayed in Bad Hofgastein on
We
one
did.
of our trips. What was that lovely hotel that had glass and the gold?
The Norica.
The Norica. That was an amazing
Yes,
hotel.
I was there in summertime.
And we may just briefly
Yeah.
talk about that. But I can remember we had to go down. They had this underground subterranean
This
passage.
is what's so interesting because the Alpine Therme Spa is connected to 5 hotels.
Yes.
The idea that you can actually roll out of your bed early in the morning, put on your swimsuit and your dressing gown and plod down and suddenly 10 minutes later you're in the spa having not gone outside.
The waters, you can have an area. I remember when you go to the adult section, there was an area where you could have all these different thermal drinks.
Yeah.
You had the different salts that you could drink that were good for your liver, they're good for your spleen. You then go into the different thermal areas where you have hot and cold and sweat and warm and wet. Then you go outdoors and the snow comes down. And the way it invigorates the body is impossible to describe unless you've tried
Yeah,
it.
and I think one of the things that I like about the Gastein Valley rather than some of the others, the Zell is actually quite similar. That if you have somebody who's a non-skier in your party, I think that is really, really important because sometimes people feel they're in a resort, there's nothing else to do but ski. The great thing about the Gastein Valley is you can get the train into Salzburg for the day. You can take the waters, you can take some treatments, you can go winter walking, you can go snowshoeing, you can do all those things. There could be 1 or 2 people, maybe could be older people. And it's so good for you. It's lovely to go somewhere where you've just got that all-around nature, well-being, and we're all looking for well-being.
Yeah.
I think COVID made us very aware of well-being and looking after yourself.
Yes.
And to me, when you go to the Gastein Valley, that's what you can do.
Yes, I can remember one of the instructors that we had, and he was a mountain man.
Yeah.
And we saw him play his horn in the square. You have this traditional music.
Yeah.
And then he took us up and he showed us where all the foxes were and the bears. And he actually goes hunting and he cuts up the animal and everything goes back to nature.
Yeah.
It was just incredible.
Yeah, he is one of the top rangers in the whole of the Howatern National Park would be the equivalent of the National Park in Wicklow or the National Park in Killarney. That is absolutely amazing in terms of being able to go out with him. And his walks are organised by the tourist board every day. You pay a £5 to rent your snowshoes.
Yes.
And that's all sponsored and covered by the tourist board. So it's really important with these things as well that you go to the tourist board and see what's on offer.
Yeah.
Because you can do your sleigh rides as well and you can do... I think snowshoeing, sometimes maybe if you don't like skiing or you maybe feel you're getting a bit old for skiing, they could have had hip replacements or knee replacements or maybe they're nervous. Snowshoeing is a great alternative.
Yeah.
Because you're out, You're out in the good weather. I just think it's great.
You made a really important point. I can think of my own skiing and one of the family friends. She, again, would be in that category. She'd feel too frail to take up skiing now. And there is so much to do in places like Bad Gastein.
I think so, yeah.
And the idea of this spa, and it goes back to the royal families of Europe would attend taking the waters. And these waters have been found scientifically to help with things like arthritis, if you've got joint and muscle pains, and just as a general piece of vigor.
Yeah.
So we've had such a fantastic tour of the free ski areas. I think you've given us a great sense of just what's available, both for skiers and non-skiers.
Yeah.
And there's a unique quality. Any other reason, if you had just 1 minute to persuade someone who's listening to this podcast, who's never skied in Austria before or has skied elsewhere, what would you say to them?
The Austrians want your business and they like people to come to Austria. They respect your business. Now, that's a really important one. I've gone to many countries where it really didn't matter. And I think the Austrians respect your business. I also think value for money is a key thing for us all these days, especially with inflation and everything else. So value for money to me is a really important one. That friendliness of people as well. You have that balance and you have that tradition.
Yeah.
For me, that's what makes Austria different. I do love the Dolomites in Italy as well. And it's just that sense of tradition.
Yes, and they're welcoming. I have to say, I'll share one final thing. I started skiing into my 50s, and even though I was fit and I had been a professional dancer, and I do have a good sense of my own wellness, but skiing has been one of the great joys.
Yeah, I agree.
And taking the grandkids has been another layer of joy. And skiing with Aileen has been another joy. So, Aileen Eglington, thank you so much for giving us this incredible tour of the Austrian Alps, and we'll see you on the slopes.
You will, and it's not long now.